be welding, all of a sudden it just stops. So you run out of wire. Pull the nozzle off after you got done welding and clip the end of the wire. If it didn't stick to the tip, we'll figure that out later. Sometimes the wire will burn off and stick to the tip. If it does that, the tip's pretty much wasted. Then, even though this has a big loop in it, the wire will still pull out pretty easy. Once you get it started out, just pull the wire on out and put this wire up there in the rod pin. Now that's the easy part. Once you cut this box open here, I forgot my knife at home. Once you cut the box open,
need a knife, huh?
I'll get it right there like this. And no, I work on the floor most of the time. Everybody tries to work on tables and do stuff. I mean, if you guys set it on a table and stuff, that's fine. Most of the time, I just sit on the floor and do things. You can see this right here retains the roll on there. You have to take this off. A lot of people taking this nut off right here and slide it off. And you still end up having to take this right here off. And we'll go over this in I think it's chapter 19. We'll cover this. But that's how you take this roll off. Now, if you'll notice, it tells what size wire this is. This is 035 wire or 0.9 millimeter. Also, the wire is tied off right here. It's tied off on the top side. Now, sometimes this wire will be tied, depending on which side it's tied off, will determine which side faces in. Luckily, this one is facing the right way, because when I untie this wire, it's pulling off the bottom. What I mean by pulling off the bottom is like this right here. It's pulling from the bottom. Now the two new welders, the 252s, they actually pull this way. So if I was putting this roll of wire on a 252, this would have been turned around because it would have been pulling off the top. Does that make sense to everyone? Anybody got any questions about that? Because that seems to be one of the issues that we run into a lot of times. Be sure, you can see I'm holding this wire. If I let go of this, this will burden this. And it will just, this whole roll will be wasted. Because this is wound, it's not tight, but it is somewhat tight. Go ahead and put this back on. Now you notice, come here. You notice this right here will raise up and down. This is the wire feed engagement. This engages the wire feed, this disengages it. I have to raise that up so I can see in here, so I can start to feed the wire. See, I just about messed up. So I can feed the wire through there. Clip the wire off and use a good pair of cutters, because you want the end of this wire to be pretty smooth. You don't want it, like certain cutters will blunt it off before it cuts. Then you want to feed this through here. Now, I don't have wipers on this wire. I put them on and they get gone. But when I just pushed that through there was a little bit of grit that had built up in here, and I pushed it through, and it come off on the end of that wire. Whenever you do that, wipe it off. And then you're going to feed it in there. You don't have to push this, you don't have to hand push this through there. Just get it started through there really good. And you can notice these are smooth rollers. They're for solid core wire. You got U-groove, aluminum, and then knurled or flux core. Then pull that down and engage the wire. It will not pull now. Now I'm going to turn the welder on. Then I do this with the gas off. This gas is off. This tank is off. It's going to run some out. But I do this with the gas off. Some of the welders will shut down. They won't run gas after a second or two of no welding. Like if the trigger, somehow the trigger gets pressed, you lay it down and it gets pressed, you gotta shut the gas off. Now you'll notice I'm keeping this wheel somewhat straight. And I have the contact tips out. And once that, you'll feel that wire coming through here. You can feel it in the gun. Let it run out here. That if the contact tip is in here, it has a tendency to hit it and it'll stop and won't push through it. So there we go. There it is. So now I'm going to put the contact tip back on. Then I'll slide the nozzle back on. This right here is a slip-on nozzle. It goes on here just like that. It will slide right off. You do not have to unscrew these. These are made to be interchangeable if this gets bad. This is the insulator. This is the nozzle. Put the nozzle back on there. Differences in welding styles, differences in opinion. Most of the time you want the contact tip to be within the nozzle about 1/8 inch, no more than about 1/4. And then you just clip the wire off. Now you're getting ready to weld. I'm going to show you this right here. This is one thing we have issue with. These tanks are just like water spigots in your home or in the bathroom or whatever. Counterclockwise turns them on. Clockwise turns them off. This is a mixed tank. It's argon CO2. Turn it all the way on. Now, some of these line pressure gauges will have argon CO2. One line will be argon, one line will be CO2. And the 20s don't match up. You know, we run about 20 in here in the shop. If you're out in a windy condition, you gotta run, 25, 30. But this one right here has CFH and LPM. We run CFH, it's cubic feet per hour. Screw this in, this is just like setting up torches. Screw that in to 20, then you're done. Now, when you've done your welding for the day, and you want to shut the welder down, there's 2 or 3 different ways you can start off, but there's certain things you have to do. You can come out of the booth, or if you're out here welding, just leave the welder on. Raise this up, disengage the wire, turn the tank off. Okay? Do not mess with the pressure regulator yet. It sets the line pressure. Don't mess with it yet. Once you've done that, welder's still on. I can pull the trigger and I purge the line. There's no wire being fed either. Once I do that, I can turn the welder off. Then I can back this right here out till it gets loose, till you feel the pressure come off of it. I'm different. every person that's going to teach you how to weld or teach you how to do something, everybody has their preferences on how things done. This right here is a thing to hang the guns in. We don't use them. These whips have a metal liner in them, and we'll do another thing of how to change the liner in this whip. But when you're done welding, wrap it up loosely on here, not tight, because if you roll it up tight, there's a tendency to kink that metal liner. Then do the ground count. Turn your breaker. Anybody got any